possibly one of my most favorite fruits of all time. Well, thank you folks for stopping by today. I do appreciate it a lot. You know, it's that time of year, and I can pretty much guarantee if you want 30-mile-an-hour winds to start blowing, all you got to do is this. Start raking leaves, and then you'll go from this to this in just a matter of minutes. The wind will kick up, never fails. And then there are a few other guarantees too. If you want the wind to blow, turn on a camera with a microphone and the wind will blow. Dogs will bark. Airplanes will go by. So forgive me if all that kind of happens, but that's what happens when you're recording outdoors around here. Well, I had a few things I needed to get done, and one of those things today was harvesting some fruit off of my persimmon tree. All right, so if you've been following the channel for any time at all, you know that I got some fruit trees and other kinds of things growing around the yard. And over here we have our persimmon trees. And it's this time of year, which is, November, the fall time, that these persimmons can get harvested. Now, there are two kinds of persimmons. These happen to be the Fuyu Persimmon, which they're the non-astringent type. And then some of you may be familiar with the more elongated looking persimmons. They are astringent persimmons. And there's wind blowing. Please forgive me.
That's fine.
And the difference between the non-astringent and the astringent is non-astringent, like these, you can pick them right off the tree, peel them back, stick them in your mouth and eat them. And they can even be a little green, and they still will taste good. The astringent version, those elongated ones, you've got to wait until they are very ripe, all the leaves have dropped, and they've got to be very, very gooey on the inside. And quite frankly, those of you that are texture eaters, you're not going to deal with those. Those are really better for cooking, like making persimmon cookies, persimmon bread, and it's very tasty. But you're relegated to only cooking those. These you can eat fresh pretty much any time. You don't have to wait for the leaves to drop. There's a plane going by, and I'll be right back. Okay, now that it's gone, I kind of forgot where I was. Two kinds of persimmons, astringent and non-astringent. The Fuyu is a non-astringent, and they're very tasty. It is kind of the trifecta of fruits because it has no core, it has no seeds inside, and no tannins. It's good right off the tree. Crunchy and sweet. Okay, today happened to be the day that I noticed that some of these pieces of fruit were in need of getting harvested. Not all of them. They start off as kind of green, and then they mature into this orangey pumpkin kind of a color. And we've already harvested over the last week or so, maybe a dozen of these. They don't ripen all at once. It doesn't seem like, at least not with the two trees we have here. They do kind of ripen over time for whatever reason. So, which is kind of nice, because then you don't have to, pick all of them and then end up having to gorge yourself on persimmons before they go bad. The plus thing is, I think I'm the only guy in the neighborhood that has these persimmons, and they make nice treats to give out to your neighbors. So we have done that as well here. So they are a fall fruit, as I mentioned before, and it's a very short season for harvesting. It does start to bloom right around, at least in this area, Central Texas, it starts to bloom around April. And right now it's November, and it's just starting to be harvested. So it is kind of a long growing season and a short harvesting season. And once they're gone, they're gone. They don't come back until next year. So we do appreciate having them around. Last year we didn't have as much luck for whatever reason. The trees were young. They were only about a year old, and we probably got 5-6 really nice persimmons out of it. The other ones ended up dropping and didn't do well. This year they were The tree has grown quite a bit. I've trimmed it back. It's not recommended to trim these trees too much. You don't have to prune them in the winter, except to maybe get them under control a little bit if they're like in this particular case, this one here, this branch or one of these branches was sticking right into the walkway, so I moved it by removing it. And but you don't really want to cut them too much. They kind of take care of themselves in that way. But this year they did quite well. We had probably so far by count, I think we probably have about 4 dozen between the 2 trees, which is a lot of persimmons. And thank goodness I like them. So when you go to pick them, by the way, they don't just fall off the tree. If they do, they've gotten way too ripe, and they'll be kind of gelatinous inside, where I don't mind that too much. I think most people, especially if you're a texture eater, you're not going to like it gelatinous, because it's kind of like, it's literally like having jam inside of a real soft skin, and you can scoop it out with a spoon and eat it. But I can't even eat that many of those that way, because they're very sweet at that point, and they're very, I don't know, they upset my stomach if you eat too much of it. I guess just like any other fruit, right? So let me get situated here. I'm going to show you, we have to trim it just like that. You take something like this, snip it off, and then simply just put it in a basket. And that's what I'm going to do with some of these. I'm going to go around and check. I don't want to pick them up too early, because then it takes a little while to ripen up. Although there is a secret to that, and I'll share that with you a little later on. Now, it's not unusual that the tree at the end of the growing season will lose all its leaves and you'll still have some fruit on the tree. That's not unusual. As a matter of fact, most persimmons go that way. But in this particular case, because you can eat them a little on the green side and enjoy them, cut them beforehand. Just don't make, like right now, so there's a little bit of green there. There's a little bit of not so green right there. That's perfect color there. This is a little green, but this will probably be okay in about a week if I just put it, set it aside, and then you'll be able to eat it. I've noticed this little dimple. I've noticed this on almost every single one of them I've harvested off of this tree anyway. It's got a little dimple. Don't know why. It doesn't affect the fruit on the inside, but it's just rather interesting. Maybe it's just peculiar to this tree. Okay, here's one in particular that is actually getting kind of soft on this side a little bit, and this one's probably ready to eat today. Now this is a fruit from the smaller of the 2 trees, and oddly enough its fruit is quite a bit larger than the other tree, and I think that's because this one last year bore some really nice fruit, and so it's its second year of giving off a nice fruit. The other tree was the one that had a little bit more difficulty, and so it's its first year. So after a couple of years, the fruit does get a little larger and a little bit better. One of the other nice things about these persimmons, it'll thin itself. You don't have to thin it. If it doesn't have enough nutrients, or if it has too much fruit for it to bear, it'll just drop the fruit. Otherwise it'll hang on to it, and this tree hung on to all of its fruit this year, so that tells me that the tree itself is doing very good. The other one did drop 4 or 5 very young green fruit, which just meant it couldn't bear it, and I'm going to let go. But it is holding quite a bit more fruit. Okay, here's another one. Pretty good shape. A little bit of green at the bottom here. It almost seems like if the plant has, or the fruit itself has direct sun on it, or if the part of the fruit that is in direct sunlight, it'll get ripe faster than the side that doesn't get direct sun, which is also true of the east side of this particular plant, all the fruit is ready to go. On the west side of the plant, it's not as ready because it doesn't get as much sun. Okay, here's one more we'll probably harvest. And contrary to what I just said, this is on the west side, and it seems very, very ready to go. Now, what's another unusual thing is, maybe I'll tilt up and you can see this one a little better, is the fruit kind of grows out of the side of the branch as opposed to hanging from its own little stem. Although, you know, as you can see, it does have a little stem there, but it's coming right out of the side of that branch, which is a little unusual. All right, so a couple of things I want to tell you more about these things. I'm going to put these in. These are probably all I'm going to harvest for today. Let's go inside and we'll talk a little bit more about it. Use our Amazon link down below. When you do, it helps us out and it doesn't cost you a penny more. And after using the link, save it to your bookmarks so you can have easy access to it in the future. Thank you. Well, okay. It's certainly after Thanksgiving by the time you guys see this. Oh, I got to show you. If you watched my previous episode, you'd see this thing busted off. You see what that is? There's my leak. Yeah, that's right. That thing is busted from the generator, right? Well, this came in the mail today. It's the replacement part. We'll tackle that next time, okay? I didn't expect the plastic to be cracked and broken there. I got gas leaking everywhere. I gotta get this stopped so I don't create a bigger hazard around here. Yet another thing. Anyway, persimmons. Oh yeah, I got a list of stuff here. Description, taste, season, nutritional value. This is interesting. And I wrote all this up, and I'll post it on my blog. I'll leave a link below and possibly up in the card. I think I could do that, where it'll whisk you away and you can just read all this for yourself, because I'm only going to give you a couple of highlights. I already did out there in where the trees were. But nutritionally, it has significant amounts of fiber and vitamin A. Very nice. Additionally, they contain vitamin C and trace amounts of vitamin E, K, and B6. So they're good for you. Eat them up. Yeah, I only picked 6 of them today. I'll probably come out in another couple of days and pick a few more. And we'll just kind of keep going that way. Yeah, oftentimes these guys are in the store for, I don't know what, $2, $3. They're that expensive. And one place says that they're only available in California. Well, I got them here in Central Texas. They're a Mediterranean weather fruit because they grow them in Italy and around the Mediterranean. They certainly grow them in Asia, so that's a little cooler climate. When I say Asia, China, and I think China produces, well, let's not get into that. Japan also has them. As a matter of fact, I think they're called Fuyukaki.
Fuyugaki.
Yeah, in Japan. Fuyukaki? Did I get that right? If you're a Japanese speaker, let me know. Fuyukaki. Botanically, though, it's known as Diospyros kaki. It's because it's got, I don't know why it's got kaki in it. Is it because it's Japanese? Probably. And Diospyros because, well, it's the Greek botanical name. I was going to say geometric name, but that wasn't right. So there you go. Persimmons. I'll leave a link, like I said. You can read all about it. I did some research. It's got 1.5, 2 pages to read. I know it seems like a lot, but it's quite a good read. I've had these types of persimmons all my life. As a matter of fact, I would say I don't know of the astringent type of persimmon because my mom, my family, originally we're all from Hawaii. And originally before that, we were from the Azores. I'm Portuguese. And as a result, these things grow well in that kind of climate, a more tropical kind of climate. So this is all I remember having around the house because that's what my parents grew up on and my grandparents grew up on back in the Azores. So this astringent one, where I've had them before because they've been baked into cookies and stuff like we talked about, and they taste very good that way. They just weren't ready to eat. You had to wait until all the leaves fell down. All anybody would then have are these orange sacks of goo, and then you could pick them, and then maybe you could eat them if you picked them at the right time. So they're kind of finicky that way. And why bother when you can have all this nutritional value, peel this skin back, take a bite out of it, and just eat the whole thing. No pit, no seeds, no core, no tannins. A lot of flavor, a lot of goodness for you. So if you see them in the store, don't be afraid, okay? If you have any questions about them, down in the comments, ask me questions. I'll do the best I can. I'm just a fan of them. I'm not necessarily an expert on them. But maybe I'll point you in the right direction. It'll help me do a little bit of research if you have some interest in it. And I'll let you know. Okay? What else can we talk about? I guess that's it. Oh, yeah. I promised I would tell you if you should pick a persimmon prematurely for whatever reason, or maybe find them in the store kind of on the green side. There is a way to ripen them up. Yes, you can just stick them on the counter and wait a week or two, and they should get a little riper. But the quick way to do it is to take it and stick it in a bag, like a paper bag, with an apple. That's right. Apples have a hormone that is called ethylene. It's a natural fruit hormone or vegetable hormone. And Fuyu persimmons are very sensitive to ethylene. And so you put the two together. Ethylene, what it does is it continues the degradation and the production of sugars and the degradation of plant tissue. Kind of interesting, huh? Polyethylene glycol. Go look that one up. But it's the natural form of ethylene that comes off of apples will ripen the fuyu. Okay, don't if you have a ripe one like this, don't store it anywhere near an apple. Otherwise, over the course of a day or two, because of its sensitivity, it will go bad. It'll get overripe and get all mushy. Same thing with avocados. If you've been to the market and you see avocados and they're real light green and they're obviously very hard and they're not ready to eat, a quick way to ripen those guys up is put them in a bag with an apple. Because again, the ethylene speeds up that maturation process. And avocados are very sensitive, like the fuyus are very sensitive to ethylene. So now you know. I guess that's it. We're going to go eat some fuyus. Fuyukakis. Yeah, that's funny. All right, stay tuned, guys. Briggs & Stratton sent me this part. I'm going to have fun getting this brass thing off because it broke off here and it's still stuck on the generator. That ain't going to be fun. If you want a little bit of humor, you might want to tune into that episode when it comes. So don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell, and then you'll be notified. And then you can go off to that comedy show. That'll happen, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think that's it. I love you guys. Thank you for joining me today. I always enjoy doing these. Sometimes it's hard to get them done because of the wind and the dogs and the airplanes, and so I appreciate you being patient. I try not to have those kinds of things happen, but if I'm going to take you along with the stuff that's going on during the day, those are the things that are going on during the day. All right, I got to go rake leaves again. You know what I might do? It's really windy outside, so I'm going to wait till the wind dies down. So maybe tomorrow I'll get out there and do some more raking. I tell you, man, this yard was completely void of dead leaves. And no sooner did I finish, the wind kicked up, and in a matter of an hour, you saw the pile of leaves. And the tree is barely lost any leaves at all. So you can imagine what's to come. Maybe tune in for that episode. That'll be a real knee slapper. I love you. God bless you. God bless America. May America bless God.